Cooking soul. Cooking soul. Buenos tardes from Guadalajara, Mexico. Oh, I was good on that one, wasn't I? We're getting better every time. We got a few more of them still. Hi, everybody. I'm Nick Gismondi. Good evening from Guadalajara alongside Sara Diaz. Glad to join you and have you along here for our post-wrap-up of round number one and part of round number two. It's still difficult to get used to. Thank you so much for joining us on our live stream today. We are so happy to have had you out on the golf course with us. Well, Sara, first of all, the weather cooperated all day today. The wind started to pick up at the end, and that was actually a blessing in a lot of ways because it started to get real warm out.
It was, and I can see you got a little bit of, sun. I had to put mi sombrero.
I love the sombrero.
You know, and I had to. There were times where the sun really got to you. I think some of the girls that are, coming from the north got a little bit sunburned.
Sure.
And like you said, the wind picked up. So it was a milder weather yesterday. Had to take into consideration in the afternoon once that wind picks up like we feel it right now, because it could make a difference. Out in the course, it kind of swirls. The course is sitting down, but you have to look up to see where the wind, in what direction it's going.
You know what was interesting about that, and I saw it a lot on my hole when I was on 8 for a little while, but most of the time when I was on 4, they can't really feel it from the tee box accurately because they're wide open on the tee box on 4. They're feeling that wind kind of moving around, and then they're looking at the flagstick, and I saw a lot of players really contemplating what they were going to do with that because it was just very difficult to understand with the trees and the buildings and the halfway house there positioned on number 4 to understand what that wind was doing at the green. Saw a lot of play it safe, dump it in the middle of the green, and then the misses were all long, and they were always when you saw a club selection change after they'd stood up on the tee box.
But you saw some pretty good shots at hole number 8. And by the way, I was at 2 other holes, but at some point I did cross where you were, and there were some members out in a table cheering for the girls. I was afraid that you were going to end up in that table and we were going to lose you for the broadcast.
Listen, for a few moments it was offered multiple times, and everybody we've talked about here in Guadalajara, so accommodating. They were bringing us down cervezas, and we can't do that right now, guys. I appreciate you. That's very nice of you. But no, it was very cool. The atmosphere has been very nice around here. A lot of patrons out on the golf course, too, watching today, which was cool. I think I saw more than just parents. I thought a lot of members of the club were out there walking around today too, which is great to see the support.
This is a great opportunity for everybody in Guadalajara, Nick, because the club is actually open to the public if you want to come watch the D1 girls. And for those juniors that have aspirations to play at the next level, we saw a bunch of kids yesterday at the parade. It would be wonderful to come and watch them and just see how they navigate the golf course and the 27 holes that they got to play today.
When you think about and we're going to get to the competition here in a moment and talk about scores and whatnot, from your perspective on your hole, do you feel like they played conservative? I mean, pin placements in round number 1 were tricky. They eased them off quite a bit in round number 2.
Yes, I was in hole number 15, par 3, downhill. It's a pretty gettable green. So the majority of the girls that I saw, they were, hitting the green, no trouble, ending up with a par. We saw a few birdies, we saw a few bogeys. But for the most part, it's like, they knew exactly where the ridges, where the slope was and the green, and how careful you needed to be because, in the hole that I was in, you go to the right or you go to the back. It's one of the fewest greens that runs from the front to the back. You know that in the back and in the right, it would, if you don't get it close, if you can't spin it, you might end up with a bogey.
And I think the other thing that we saw today was and we mentioned it in the morning show, but the course conditions changed. It got hot. Those greens firmed up. And you saw it become much more difficult to keep balls on the green, and that's where it started to get towards the end of the day, where we saw stuff sort of falling off, especially on the backside of my hole.
Yes, it's something that I think that happens across all tournaments, right? Once it starts getting into the afternoon, conditions begin to change, and honestly, if you're playing 27 holes, it might be a little bit of an advantage, even though the conditions are changing, because you get to see the same holes, right? So the same front 9, different pin locations, but you got to be just aware of those differences so that you can make the right decisions.
Tomorrow, not much will change in terms of weather. It's going to stay the same. 27 more holes. I feel like everybody handled the 27
Yeah.
well. It's just a weird format, and
Yes.
there's not much you can. The reasons why it has to be played that way, especially when it's international.
Yeah, most of the time these girls are playing 36-18 or 18-18-18. I was talking to Coach Ria, and one of the reasons why they make it 27-27 is also because of the logistics. If you think about it, the girls wouldn't be able to take their flights until, the next day. So it adds one more day. It adds more budget, of course,
Sure.
to the school. So something to take into consideration.
All right. We talked about the competition, and it was up and down today, and that's what you see in college golf. The fluctuation is constantly there. Listen, it's close right now. It
Yeah.
wasn't for a while.
Yeah.
There was a few teams kind of running away with it, and then it kind of broke down. What was your assessment of the leaderboard, and actually where as it stands right now? We
I
just
will
have
tell
a
you
few
right now.
holes left to play.
So OSU, the Cowgirls, are sitting at 1 over par, a 5-shot difference from the next school, which is Tulsa, Virginia, and FSU at +6. But let me tell you, Tulsa started incredibly well.
Yeah, they were strong.
4 under par as a team the first round. The girls started getting a little bit more challenged in the afternoon, ending up with 10 over par. But listen, all of the girls at OSU were playing really well. I saw Lucy particularly putting really well, just being very confident. You can kind of tell when these girls are playing well, even though we only saw them for a hole. You get a chance to see, their attitude by just how peppy, they are and how confident their walk is. So Lucy was doing great. At one point, she was leading the tournament, but it is Carmen Lim, from Washington. Just had a clean scorecard. Absolutely no bogeys. She ended up shooting a 67 in the front, so the first 18 holes, And then in the back, we saw her just through 6, but she had made 3 birdies in the second round.
Yeah, and saw her birdie on our hole on number 4 as well. Just a real solid performance. She seemed very unflappable the whole time, and just was playing very smart, safe golf. When she walked past us after leaving the green, just very locked in. And I think when you can see that out of an athlete, you sort of know what's going on and where they're at. She certainly had that look today.
Yeah, obviously, definitely. And Moa, who's sitting at number 2, 5 under, also had a great round. 4 under par for the for the first 18, and then 1 under for the second round. We're still dealing with the 27 holes, trying to figure it out here. And then Lucy Dar from Oklahoma State, 5 under par, 3 under par the first round, 2 under for the second round. And what I saw was that these head coaches and assistant coaches, they were with the leaders. At some point I saw them in my holes talking with the girls, just being that extra layer of support for the girls. And I think, it's part of a coach's responsibility, if you will, to really understand each girl and how they play and what their strengths are. So as a coach when to say something, when to help them, or also maybe just to walk with them, right? And be that extra support that they get.
Let's talk a little bit about the host team, Virginia, and I wanted you to pull up their scores. We talked about them yesterday quite extensively in terms of just the fact that they're a young team, 2 upperclassmen, just 2 juniors. The rest are sophomore and freshmen. So it's a little bit of a rebuild for Ria Scott, but I really liked the play of Elsie McCleary today. I thought, she stepped up real good. She's such a effervescent freshman, but how do you assess the young players on that Virginia team in a situation like this, especially some of the freshmen, knowing that they're coming to this, which is a marquee event, not only for the program, but for Ria Scott, their coach?
Yeah, so I saw Elsie too at my hole. We spent some time with her yesterday. Really cute girl, very smiley, very positive. And I thought she looked very comfortable. These girls have had the opportunity to play in the fall, so they already got adjusted to that college life. Elsie was talking to me yesterday about time management, and that was also a common theme that I heard from several girls that just went into college, trying to figure out when to practice, when to do homework, the workouts, just trying to get into rhythm, just like we were in the broadcast, figuring out
course.
that rhythm as a
Of
team.
course.
And these girls are as well. So I saw Elsie, she had reapplied, some sunblock out there because it was when the sun was blasting at our faces. But she said, I'm not complaining. I'm here in Mexico. Like I said, very cute. It's a pleasure to be with her.
Jacqueline Laha is their best player so far at just +1. Elsie is currently at +3. Not a bad performance as well by Kennedy Swedick. And I'm sorry, actually, my mistake. Yuki Takada is at 5 under through the tournament so far.
Yeah, Jacqueline Laha, she struggled a little bit there between the holes of 13 and 15. Just had this bogey train that she wasn't able to get off of, shooting 75 in the first round. Still a good round, but she really shined, in the second one when she had 3 birdies, 1 double in the first hole, which tends to be a little bit tricky for the girls. But as long as you're making birdies, which she did, she had a birdie on hole number 9, 2 bogeys in the front 9. As long as you're making those birdies to be able to erase those mistakes on the scorecard and add that red number, I think you can build that momentum again.
And by the way, I got to say it, especially because we're so happy to be partnered with them now, but how great of an app is Scoreboard, by the way?
Yeah.
I mean, that website and platform is just absolutely amazing. Like, it is our lifeline out on the golf course during these events. It's updated just so quickly. It's so easy to see and read and streamlined. I mean,
Yes.
The folks at Scoreboard do a wonderful job, and we're happy to be partnered with them.
Yeah, and for the parents and family and friends that are wanting to tune in, this is a website that is open to the public, and it'll be updating as the girls are playing. So it's the same information that we're looking at and reporting back to you.
We thank the folks at Scoreboard so much for such an incredible powered website and app. It is very, very helpful. Of course, the folks at Scoreboard, powered by Clip, and partnership with them makes us a very, very happy group. But tomorrow, looking ahead, what do you expect to happen on that leaderboard with it being so tight and things change so quickly in college golf?
Yeah, I think, I think today, the first day, you're kind of getting adjusted to everything, right? It's the first day. You want to get off to a great start, but I feel like going into the second day, you're building a little bit more confidence. You know what you're doing out there. So, after we get off here, I'm going to be talking to the girls and trying to understand a little bit more of what was working for them, what challenged them the most, because we were sitting just at one hole, right? And you really need to look at the whole journey to be able to understand, what was the most challenging part of the course today and what was the best part of their game that allowed them to have the great scores that they did.
All right, big question. How many of the girls in the field do you think took advantage of the tacos at the halfway house, or is that only reserved to practice round days?
I don't know. We were far in the course. We
question.
did not see that, but they
know.
they brought me a lonche de lomo, which was delicious. Thank you so much, Guadalajara Country Club. I was eating it between shots. I didn't get to finish it, but it was delicious, and I can't wait to finish it right now.
All right. Well, you had your first experience with Babygrande, getting to call in an event. Well, we sure hope you enjoyed it, and I can't wait for tomorrow.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure to work with you and the rest of the team. And I think, this is a great opportunity to be able to showcase great talent to the best in collegiate golf. And I'm just happy to be a part of it, Nick. So thank you.
Tomorrow at 1:20, we will come on air with our hello from, so make sure you tune in for that. Sarah and I will get bienvenidos from. We'll get kicked off with that. We'll have some bonus for you in the morning. Those times will change, so just make sure you're sticking with us on Babygrande, and we'll keep you updated on that. And then, of course, our coverage will pick up at 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock Central Time. Nope, that's a mistake. 2 o'clock Central Time will be our coverage of the final round and what we'll be doing then.
Cooking soul.